Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the Living in Utah live question and answer session here Thursday evening, 8 p.m. Mountain Time. Every Thursday, I try to make it. Been really consistent this year. I don't think I have missed a Thursday yet. Well, in the state of Utah, if you're looking at the weather, it is beautiful. We are in like a 70-degree temperature in northern Utah. Just fantastic for anything you want to do outside. Sun was shining today. Wasn't hot, wasn't cold. It was just perfect. So it's been that way for quite a few days. I managed to get out and run the rototiller, getting ready to plant the garden. They usually say that you should wait till after Mother's Day. So got it all ready the other day, and garden will be going in. I want to cover tonight about real estate market here in Utah. I try to do this once a month, give you an idea of what the average home price is in a few of the popular counties, or counties that I should say I get asked about the most. In general, the market is pretty much holding steady. Some counties have had a slight increase. We are seeing an uptick in the market. So interest rates are, I guess you could say, they've stabilized or kind of like bouncing around. That's in the sixes. I know some people would like to see them lower. It's not the direction that the market has been going. So we'll see how that plays out now and in the future. But let's take a look at what's going on here. All right. Let's start down south. Washington County. Popular cities would be St. George, Utah, in Washington County at the end of April. It's a little hard to tell what May's date will exactly be because we're only 10, 11 days into the month. But when we look at April's data, about $572,000 was the average price. This particular county has been seeing a steady increase throughout the year, 485, 492, 510, 572. So we're seeing pricing bumping up a little bit. So actually, when you take from 485 to 572, that's almost $100,000 jump, 90-some thousand dollars. Quite significant. All right. How about the next county north? Well, not the next one north, but the Utah County areas like Provo, Orem, Eagle Mountain. And here at the end of April, we finished at 472, almost exactly to where we were at the end of March, very close to where we were in February, in January. This particular county has pretty much been holding steady. We went at 469, 467, 472, 472, not much difference at all. And so far, what has closed in the month, we're about 475. So pretty much staying even is how I would calculate that particular county. And then as we move a little further north, we will pop into Salt Lake County, our largest county. Now, 2023. Let's see. So we finished April at 495, a little bit of a drop from March, about 517. The 495 resembles pretty much January and February's numbers. They were also in the 490s, so about the same. So far this month, we're about 545. It's hard to tell where we're going to finish. We're only a third of the way through the month, so that could go up or down. But for the most part, I would say this county here is staying fairly consistent, even at the moment. Okay, next county north, Davis County, Kaysville, Layton, Bountiful. All right. We finished the month at 514, slight bump from the 483. This county at the beginning of the year, January, February, March, was about the same, somewhere around that 470 to 483 range. Bumped slightly above to 514 so far. With closed sales in May, we are seeing about 507. So just a slight increase in this county. How about the next county north, where we will look at Weber County? Areas like Ogden, Roy, South Ogden, North Ogden, Pleasant View, Plain City. We are looking at closed April at about 414, a slight bump from 398. Fairly consistent throughout the year. We're anywhere from, say, 380 to 414. So a little bit of a bump. So far this month, we've closed up at about 402. The next county north, Box Elder County, areas like Brigham City, Tremonton. Let's take a look. I've been getting a lot of requests for this particular area lately. So about 400,000 when we finished in April. Previous month was 390, so a slight bump. Fairly consistent throughout the year so far, 424, 435, 390, 400, all in that range, give or take a little bit. So far this month, if we look at the sales numbers, we're about 409. So very similar to how the county has been performing throughout the year. And how about one of our most northern county, which would be Cache County? It's right on the border of Idaho. Logan, Utah would be one of the major cities in this county. We finished April at about $420,000. Down a little bit from March of 431, actually down a little bit from February, also at 426. But hovering around that same range, probably fairly steady, anywhere from 408 to 431 throughout this year. And in May so far, we're about 420. So just above that $400,000 price range. So that is how most of the counties are performing. Okay. Salt Lake, Provo, Utah would be my choice, or wherever else is Utah a beautiful area, or wherever else in Utah is a beautiful area. So when we talk in general, some people will debate this and there'll be a little bit of a battle, but in general, when you're looking at what we refer to as the Wasatch Front, Provo, Orem area, all the way to Ogden, even further north to Brigham City, very similar. Every county is very similar. Might have different crime rate levels in different counties and in particular areas, but in general, as far as how the counties are laid out, where the interstate is located, et cetera, very, very similar. Some may have a better school district than others, so some slight differences as far as that goes, but in general, similar. Okay, when you're appealing property value, do you use comparable property valuation to compare against your own house value or sale of homes? Okay. It's actually the second option. So how most counties work that I've had personal dealings with, and the process might be a little bit different in some other counties. They will send you a notice of the new value, that what they have determined as the new value. Let's take it at that. And they will give you a deadline. If you would like to file an appeal, you have a deadline to file the appeal. You have a couple options on the back. One of the options, I'm trying to remember all the options. One of the options is if you recently purchased a home, then you can send them your closing documents, your what the price was of the home. If not, then you have to provide them with what you feel is the value. So you get to fill in your own value. So say they said it was worth 500,000 and you feel it's worth 400,000. So you'd put the 400,000, and then you have to attach comparable sales for that particular year. Now, this is where it gets a little bit confusing because the property taxes are for the previous year. So, during that time period, you would then submit your valuations, your home sales, and then they will make a determination. They will reject them totally and continue with their $500,000 number. They may accept your $400,000 number. They may come back and say the new number is 452. At that point, that 452, let's say that was the number, that will be the new tax rate that your property taxes are based off of. But it does not end there. You're welcome. You have the right to have a formal hearing. I've never personally been to a formal hearing, so I'm not too sure exactly how it works. So when you go to the formal hearing, you get to plead your case, kind of like, I guess, going to court, probably very similar. Plead your case. And I'm not too sure who's on the panel. I would assume that the county assessor would be on the panel, maybe some other individuals. And I guess it's negotiated at that particular point. I have never been to one of those meetings myself, so I'm not 100% certain, but you do have the right. And this is all free. You have the opportunity to go in person. Me personally, on my rental properties, my personal home, I appeal my property taxes every year, without a doubt, 100%. And most years, even last year, I don't know if you can consider it a win, because let's say the value was 700,000 and I felt it was worth 600,000. They've come back at, say, 670, 660. And I've just accepted. I've done that over the years. I've just accepted that number. I haven't taken it any further. So in a way, I consider it a win because I do lower it. I can tell you, because this is all public record, by the way, I can tell you that my neighbors, their property values are significantly higher than mine. And I'm assuming that's because they do not appeal their property tax. They just go with what it is. So I've mentioned it to some of my neighbors. I don't know. So that's how it works in Utah. Oh, what house sales do you use to appeal your property for this year, 2022 or 2023? Okay. So what's going to happen is when you get your notice here in 2023, you have to use comparable numbers for 2022. Can you give a detailed process how to successfully appeal property valuation? I covered it a little bit there on your first question. So basically what I do is the way I do all my properties. Okay. I pull the sales data for my particular area, not my particular street, my particular city. and I take the lowest, not the lowest price, the lowest per square foot price. So there's a difference. I mean, in my city, there might be homes that sold for say 400,000. But I look at the lowest per square foot price, because I found in some cities you might find someone sold a $1.5 million home, and when you look at the price per square foot, it will be lower, maybe sometimes considerably lower than what they have my price per square foot as. Although it's a $1.5 million home. So I don't just take the lowest, and some people will do this. They will just take the lowest price dollar wise. I look at the square footage numbers. So if I find, say, 3 homes at $200 per square foot, then I multiply that by my square footage and I put that on a form. And then I let them go from there. And I put those comps in there. I highlight those comps, the per square footage number, and I put a little piece of paper with it. And I'm like, and I put on there that the 3 homes, one home had a square footage price of this. Next one had this. Next one had this. When I take the average, or if they're fairly close, I multiplied it by that, and that was my number. So that's the way that I do it. So, and whether that is the best way or not, I don't know. I have had some success though. So I appeal every property every single year without a doubt. It's free to do. So that's how the property tax does work in Utah. Now, one other thing they do have on the back of the form, you also, if there is a misrepresentation on the property, let's say they have the property down at 4,000 square foot, but you're in a 3,200 square foot home, you can appeal based off of something that is incorrect. So that's the other process, which I find that on the rare side that some of that data is wrong. So it's possible, but do go through that data. Make sure what they have listed compared to what you actually have in your home. And, just to make sure those numbers are correct. That's the way I do it. So I have heard people that have gone to the appeal. They say that when you go to the appeal process in person, that you do have a good success rate. I talked to somebody who presented their case, and they said that on the night that they went, the place was packed solid, and it appeared like they were trying to just push through all the appeals, I guess, to go home for the night. But they felt that it was a little bit easier, and they felt that they had success. So, but I haven't done that personally. That's about as far as I go once I submit it. And so, any more questions this evening I can answer for you, or clarify anything on the property valuation if you have a question? Do you look at square foot on homes that were sold in 2022? That's what I will do this year. Yes, 100%. I think the notices are going to get mailed out in most counties around August, September time period. Yeah, and I'll be looking at 2022. And I will be looking at 2022 at the second half of the year, because the first half of the year, home prices in Utah were still going up, up, up. The second half of the year is where we saw a little bit lower. So that's where I'm going to concentrate. But yeah, that's how I do it. I guess there's different ways to do it. The form is pretty generic. They want you to list, they want you to attach your comparables, and they want you to list what you feel is the appraised, or what you feel the value is. So I do that, but I also highlight the square footage part. I make just an 8.5 by 11 Microsoft Word document, listed price per square foot, what my square foot of my home is and what the price is, so that in my mind, it's just it'll be a little bit more clear that that's how I came up with my numbers. What I'm trying to portray is how I came up with my number. Okay. How do you find homes that were sold in 2022? Well, quite honestly, I pretty much through a real estate agent. That's I'm not aware of getting the actual sold prices any other way. We are, the county values that you look up are based off what the county has determined, not off of. So if my neighbor next door, they say it's worth $700,000, that doesn't necessarily mean that is what the what the home sold for if it had sold over the last year. So, yep. Any more questions along that line? Any more questions for this evening? Are realtors open to print out comps? Well, that's an individual question. I can't speak for the realtors. I can tell you in September, October, I have to cut off the requests that I receive. My email, my text message, and is full of, especially last year, is full. So I can help you out the best I can. I know that if you are leaving it to, when the notices, I do get very, very busy. I only allocate so much time. I do have other things going on, but and other realtors might be in the exact same. Their phone probably rings off the hook for some comparables and some help with that. But yeah, some realtors may not do it at all. I'm not too sure. Not too sure. Not something I've really discussed with fellow realtors in general. But any more questions? You're welcome. Anytime. Any more questions this evening before I call it a night? Okay, I appreciate everybody coming online. I will be back again next week. Thank you.